States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. We're very fortunate this evening. Reverend David Bailey is going to do our invocation for us. Thank you, sir.
Let's pray. Lord, what an honor it is to be loved by you. And, Lord, as our town motto says, love conquers all. We thank you, Lord, that your love truly does conquer all. Thank you that we can live in a community where we can work together, where we can celebrate, and where we can even have a Christmas parade in a couple of days. We pray for your hand to be upon this community, and we pray for your power to flow through your servants, and so that your will may be done in all decisions that are made. But we pray, Lord, that it will be done in a way in which we love our neighbors. Thank you, Lord, for calling us here together tonight. May tonight's business honor you, and as we celebrate this season, Lord, may we honor you in our hearts as well. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Dave.
Okay, we're going to review the agenda and adopt the agenda. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to continue item number 14, consideration of cost proposal for additional video surveillance equipment at the Stokesdale Town Park. I'd like to continue that until the January 9th.
January 9th. Is there any objection? So be it. Any other changes, any other suggestions on the agenda, on the minutes, rather? I'm sorry, on the agenda?
I'll move to approve with that change.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mr. Rigsby?
Aye.
Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landrith?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I am also aye. Review and adopt the following minutes. I make a motion that we adopt the minutes for July 11th, 2024, closed session meeting.
Second the motion.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Rigsby?
Aye.
Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landrith?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I am also aye. I make a motion that we adopt the regular town council meeting minutes for 10/10/2024.
Also second.
Any discussion? Mr. Rigsby?
Aye.
Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landrith?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
All right, public safety reports. Stokesdale Fire Department, Todd? We've got Todd and Randy here, both. Thank you, fellas. Not a problem at all.
Good evening, citizens and council.
Good evening.
Department activity for the month of November for the Stokesdale Fire Department. During the month, we ran 52 medical calls, 15 fire-related calls, and 31 calls of the other variety. Kind of as a reminder, since we're in the holiday season, I like to pick things that go along with the season, and obviously Christmas is going to be upon us before we know it. But live trees, we always touch base on those because it seems like for whatever reason, there are fires involving live trees. Just make sure that you keep that tree watered. I know you hear that on the news and everybody tells you, water that tree, water that tree, water that tree. But do make sure that you do that. Anything that you can help to prevent a fire. Any tree, whether it's a live tree or an artificial tree, be mindful where you put it. Beside anything that's flammable that could catch the tree on fire. And another one is during this time of year, we have a whole lot more lights. We're plugging a lot more things into our receptacles and all. One of the big things to use is the power strips, okay? And if you read those things, they're not unlimited, okay? They're like everything else. They have a capacity. They have a rating, what you should and shouldn't do with them. And we urge people to read that, see what the safety level is on that, because sometimes you'll see them where if it's got 8, then it's got 10, then it's got 12, just, they make it easy to plug one into the other, into the other. Those things are only made to handle a certain load. And it doesn't take long, especially if you go out to eat or something like that, to have an electrical fire. But outside of that, that's all I got, and hope everybody has a safe and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Todd. Thank you very much. Young Mr. Combs, that's a nice-looking jacket. Next item, Mr. Wagner, Guilford County Sheriff's Office report.
Yeah, I'll be glad to read this. So this is the report for November. This was provided by Sergeant Ryan Seals of the Guilford County Sheriff's Office. And for the month of November, the Sheriff's Office responded to 152 total calls for service in the Stokesdale town limits, resulting in 16 case reports. Of note, there were no significant incidents of crime trends of note for the month. Calls by type. This is the type of call upon initial dispatch. Call nature often changed after further investigation upon deputy arrival. Numbers denoted on the map indicate multiple calls for service at the same location. 2 burglary of a residence, 4 disturbance, 13 alarm, 2 assault, 6 domestic, 2 drugs, 4 fraud, 2 missing person, 1 motor vehicle theft, 58 other, 23 suspicious, 1 vandalism, 3 theft, 1 trespassing, and 30 traffic. And that's everything for the sheriff's report.
Thank you, sir.
Missing people?
Do what?
Did they find the missing people?
I don't know. It's not in the report, so I'm not sure.
I mean, I hadn't heard anything about it.
I'm not sure.
Is there anything, any question, any other question? Thank you, Robbie. Moving on to administrative reports. Robbie, again, town administrator.
Yes. So your administrative report is in your packet. I tried to keep it brief, so I won't go over the whole thing, but I'll hit a few of the high notes. So for the water system, Mrs. Hunsucker, our water system customer service manager, puts this report together for us. And she's had 9 water meters installed. 30 water meters are in stock here at the town hall. 8 applications for transfer of service and water meters are in. 17 water meters and applications are on hold for builders. 16 work orders, 27 811s, 847 water bills have been mailed out, and there are 7 reservations and rentals for the month of November. To highlight on some of the water projects, the Ellisboro Road waterline extension, Yates Construction has tentatively scheduled the installation for those water lines to begin in early spring of 2025. They're in the process of ordering the materials for the project, and once these materials are ordered and the delivery date is provided by the manufacturer, a more definitive installation start date will be established. Coldwater Road waterline extension, Hazen and Sawyer Engineering are continuing to work on the design of the Coldwater Road waterline extension. It's been reported that the design is nearing completion, and a final design is expected to be ready for presentation to the town council by the first quarter of 2025. And for the water system asset inventory and assessment project, that AIA project, that's Hazen and Sawyer's helping us out with that. Some ongoing updates are that the town's water model, they've been making updates to that to inform the updated capital improvement plan, preliminary work on a rate study, and initial work on a benefit analysis of the advanced metering infrastructure. And then for the other project that Hazen is helping us with right now, that water system pre-construction planning grant, they had their initial kickoff of the meeting to do scopes and goals, review of plans and existing information from the town's pressure reducing valve, from the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Utility Commission, and conceptual planning for addressing the elevated tank, the water in that tank, the age of that water. So that's everything for the water report. For the admin report, I'll just hit a few high notes here. On November the 14th, that was the due date for the parade sponsorship forms. And may have mentioned this at the last meeting, but I'll just double down on it because it's so impressive. We had 20 sponsors that contributed a total of $4,450. On December the 9th, the Christmas parade applications were due, and to date, the the numbers in your report have grown just a little bit since this was put together. We now have 62 entries and have received a total of $630. And just a reminder that the Christmas parade will be held this Saturday at 2:00 p.m. in downtown Stokesdale, and vendors will be set up at the United Methodist Church around 11:00 a.m. And just two housekeeping items here. December the 24th through the 26th, the Stokesdale Town Hall building will be closed in observance of the Christmas holiday. And pending approval of the holiday schedule tonight, the Stokesdale Town Hall building will be closed in observance of the New Year's holiday on January the 1st, 2025. Any questions?
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Robbie.
You're welcome.
Planning Board?
Yeah, I'll be glad to speak on that. So at their regular meeting back on Thursday, November the 21st, 2024, the Planning Board heard rezoning case 24-09-PLBD-0096, that being at 7848 US Highway 158. That was a request to rezone from agriculture to RS40 and RS40 to CZRS30, being conditional, single-family residential. The following recommendation was submitted by the Town Planning Board. Mr. Curtis Gentry made a motion to recommend the rezoning as indicated to the Stokesdale Town Council based on staff recommendation, and for the Stokesdale Town Council to consider the staff's recommendation with regard to the pond and the dam. In addition to keeping with the fact that this meets with reasonableness and consistency in the terms of the Town of Stokesdale's rezoning and future land use plan. Mr. Ron Southard seconded the motion, and it carried unanimously. And you all will discuss that a little bit further tonight in your public hearing. But I will add that just 1 week away, on Thursday, the December 19th, right here in this room at 7:00 p.m., there will be a second public hearing item, that being a separate rezoning case 24-11-PLBD-00101. And that is located at 8400 Lyman Street, and that is a request to rezone from conditional zoning, light industrial, to light industrial.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything to report from the Property Committee, Mr. Rigsby?
No, sir.
And our Town Park Improvement Committee, Mr. T. Stevenson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just a real quick update. The lighting of the soccer fields, as we know, Town Council voted on the proposal from the committee to proceed with contracting with Ronaldo Electric to install lighting for the soccer fields. That did carry in last month's meeting. As a predecessor to that, we did vote in a special called meeting prior to move forward with Duke Energy installing a 480-volt three-phase service back from Angel Pardue down to the fields. That would allow for us to reduce some of the costs necessary for the actual lighting. So all of that is in work. Duke Energy has told us that the equipment was in stock, but it would still be a month or two before we could get on the agenda. Once that is done, then Ronaldo can move forward with getting the equipment and begin the installation. And I understand that the installation will take about a week to 12 days to get that done once all the equipment is in force. So that's a big deal for us. We're very proud of that.
That's
very,
right.
very glad that we've gotten that in work. The second item on the agenda, we've been talking now for several months with regard to security for the basketball and pickleball courts and the purchase of additional cameras to record activity in that area. We have gotten some progress in that area. We've gotten some proposals and some ideas from our current vendor, and did have some questions that we still wanted to get answers on before we're able to make a recommendation to council in that regard. Hopefully that will be forthcoming and we can do something on that at the January meeting. Kind of right now, there's a couple of other things we've been talking about with regard to parking and perhaps some fencing and some other things. We've put those on the table for the time being, pending the final outlay of cash and resources for the lighting project. So with that said, the next Park Improvement Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, January the 16th, 2025. This century is already a quarter over, boys and girls. That's hard to believe. But that's kind of where we are from the Park Improvement Committee. As you know, we've also been working very hard on the Christmas parade. And again, just to reiterate what Mr. Wagner said, it is this Saturday, December the 14th. The activities will actually start with Candy Cane Lane in front of the Methodist Church there on the wonderful grounds that they have and are so gracious to allow us to use. That will start at 11 o'clock. We've got 15 vendors, includes food trucks, some cookout kind of things, and some crafts and displays there. Will be from 11 o'clock until the parade starts at 2. In addition, this year we're going to have a DJ that will be positioned in front of the funeral home, and he'll.
They're excited about that DJ.
Sounds that way. Sounds that way. Anyway, he'll be playing some Christmas music for us from about 1 o'clock until the parade starts, and then we'll be announcing the parade floats during that time once the parade starts there. And we are using a DJ this year because he has a really good sound system and we shouldn't have any trouble being heard. So, again, 20 sponsors, 62 participants so far. Thanks to all of those that have had a part in this and for putting up with me nagging them to get their applications in. And we look very forward to everyone coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you, T.
T, you and your committee should be very proud. You certainly deserve it. We thank you very much for your leadership.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, financial reports. Kimberly?
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, we will start with the general fund, with our financials. Very excited about financials too. Good, okay. So in the general fund, our total bank accounts total $3,564,866.83. And in that amount are the total for our CDARS, which total $2,743,440.05. The interest for the month of November received is $8,828.10. Our year-to-date interest is $45,015.21. Our total for shared overhead expense for the month of November is $12,319.78. Our year-to-date is $65,158.28. Our total accounts receivable, and this includes that is due to us from the water enterprise account, is $13,599.80. The total retirement contribution for the town of Stokesdale for our full-time employees for the month of November is $2,210.02. Year-to-date total is $8,040.81. And also for the general fund, I just wanted to let you guys know, as of 12/5/2024, I'm just bouncing off of what T just said, but I'm going to give you the amount. We have received $5,025 for the Christmas parade. This includes the sponsorship and the parade entries. All right, let me move over to the water enterprise. For the water enterprise account, our total bank accounts is $2,642,546.90. This includes our CDARS of $1,339,704.52. The total amount of interest for the month of November is $6,291.65. Year-to-date interest for the water enterprise account is $24,795.01. Our sales tax due for the month of for year to date is $707.13. The accounts receivables that includes November billing is $35,604.05. There are 0 inactive accounts and 0 active accounts that are 90 days past due, so that's great. Our accounts payable for the month of November as of 11/30/24 is $55,827.14. The month of November, we collected $3,750 for capacity fees. Year-to-date is $11,250. And I did want to let you guys know, I am pleased to announce to all of council staff and citizens that our audit has been submitted and accepted by the Local Government Commission, and we have passed. However, Cindy Randolph, which is the town's auditor, is unable to attend this meeting and present the audit because of a prior engagement. She will be presenting the audit at our regular town council meeting on January the 9th, 2025. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Real quick, Cam, could you go over the water, the delinquent accounts? How much are in those?
Our receivables,
Right, yeah.
35,604.05, which includes November billing.
Well, you mentioned something about, I think 90 days delinquent.
There are 0 90 days,
Okay.
inactive and active, there's 0.
Wait, Mr. Ford, didn't we recently vote to move those into that particular category 2 or 3 months ago?
We voted, what was that vote?
I have to go back
We,
and look.
we
They've been
voted to
moved.
remove it as an asset on the balance sheet.
Correct.
Essentially writing them off, but not,
Well, it is the same money, it's the same pot of money that we've moved. That's why it's not showing up as a past due water account. Okay.
Yes.
yep.
Any other questions for Kim? Again, thank you very much. We'll open the floor for public comments. I don't have anyone requesting, so if anyone would like to make a public comment, if you would, please indicate to me that you would, good, bad, or indifferent. If anyone would like to speak? Quick. Efficient. Okay, we have a public hearing item. It is the rezoning case 24-09-PLBD-00096, 7848 US Highway 158 from AG Agricultural and RS 40, single family, to CSRS, CZRS 30. That's conditional single family residential. Located on the north side of the US Highway 158, 3,400 feet east of the intersection of US Highway 158 and North Carolina Highway 68 North. Guilford County Tax Parcel Number 164066. This is a request to rezone the subject property, which contains a total of 100.25 acres from AG Agricultural and RS 40, single-family residential, to CZ RS 30, conditional single-family residential. And we have Oliver Bass with us this evening from our planning department.
Just speaking to the,
Get the staff report. Good evening, Oliver.
good evening. My name is Oliver Bass. I'm with the Guilford County Planning and Development Department, and I'm going to present the staff report. I won't read the whole thing, but I will read highlights. As mentioned, this property, the property up for rezoning is located at 7848 US Highway 158. The request is to rezone it from RS 40 and AG to CZ RS 30, which is a conditional zoning. The developer proposed the following development conditions. One, that the number of lots will be 85. I would note that the These are the maximum number of lots, however, the minimum lot size and environmental conditions may reduce that number. A developer proposed the following use conditions. All uses for the RS-30 zoning district as allowed by Table 4-3-1 in the Stokesdale zoning ordinance, with the exception of junk motor vehicles, shall not be permitted. As it relates to the character of the area, the existing land use on of the parcel is vacant, undeveloped. The surrounding land uses are agricultural, vacant, single-family residential, and retail office uses separated by US 158. To the east, the property is vacant, but is soon to be developed as residential. And to the west is single-family residential and agricultural. Key points on the infrastructure and community facilities. For water and sewer services, provider for private septic is private septic and wells, and it's on the Stokesdale municipal water system. US Highway is a major thoroughfare according to the 2024 Collector Street and Thoroughfare Plan for Stokesdale. The projected land trip generations, we are unable to determine the projected trip generation at this time, since a final use has not been established. The US Highway 158 carried 7,600 average annual daily trips per day in 2022, per the North Carolina Department of Transportation traffic report. And development may be subject to NCDOT roadway improvements, including but not limited to turn lanes, acceleration and deceleration lanes. As it relates to the land use analysis, the parcels are located within the Stokesdale land use plan adopted in 2007 and recommended for residential development. Residential development makes up approximately 12% of the land area. The majority of this is low-density, single-family residence. One exception is the Countryside Village Retirement Community located on US 158. The majority of the residentially used and zoned property is located along the NC 68 corridor in the town core area and along Athens Road and Southern Road. Major residential subdivisions have been added along How River Road, Ellison Road, Angel Pardue Road, and Blues Creek. Except in the town core, homes are on large lots that cover an acre or more. This is because there is no public sewer service available, and significant area must be available for septic drain fields on each lot. With regards to the recommendation, both the planning board by a vote of 4-0 and staff recommended approval with the added development conditions as follows. 1, should the pond remain on site, then an evaluation of the existing pond, associated dam conditions, and stability must be conducted and described in a signed, sealed report prepared by a professional engineer with recommendations for repair and maintenance included in the report. All necessary permits and approvals for repairs and maintenance must be obtained prior to preliminary plat approval, and the following will be required prior to recording of a subdivision plat. A, pond and dam repairs must be complete and the area stabilized, and B, an operation and maintenance plan for the ponds and dam must be prepared for use by the owners association and recorded in the owners association declarations, covenants and conditions and restrictions. As it relates to the statement of reasonableness and consistency, the proposed rezoning action with the added rezoning development conditions as enumerated herein is reasonable and in the public interest because it is in an area where single-family residential uses are prevalent and there is public water available to the site, which enables a slightly higher development density. The added condition would provide protection for existing watershed features should any watershed development occur on the property. Additionally, the site is in proximity to more dense residential development, including Countryside Retirement Community to the east. As relates to consistency, this request is consistent with the Stokesdale Future Land Use Plan designation of residential. Thus, it's approved. A future land use plan is not required. And that concludes the staff report for your consideration.
Does anyone have any questions for Oliver?
I've got one,
Yes, sir, Mr. Foy.
maybe two. Oliver, I'm reading on page 1, I believe, of your staff report, that RS 30 is this, residential single-family district, typically 1.3 units per acre of density. And then I see that the developer proposed conditions reflect a maximum number of lots at 85. So in essence, this is much less dense than, standard RS 30. Is that correct? It can't get any more than 85?
It can have no more than 85.
Okay.
During the site condition may only allow less than that.
Okay. And is it safe to assume that when staff made they added a condition in addition to what the developer has offered, that the applicant and staff worked together to add that? In other words, the applicant was agreeable to the condition that staff added to this report?
To my knowledge, it may have been, I believe it was discussed at the planning board hearing, and it may have been, it would be presented. We haven't received any official acceptance by the applicant, and I'm not familiar with, I wasn't at the meeting.
Right.
So I'm not clear on the discussion that was at that meeting.
You're absolutely correct, Oliver.
Yeah, that's right. At the meeting, the staff recommended that condition be attached, but that was not offered by the applicant.
Nobody's requiring them to keep it, right? There's no requirement. They can do what they decide to do. It's just if they decide to keep it, they've got to do those things, is what you're saying.
That's right. If the pond is not drained, or if the pond remains, then there would be.
But they'll have the right to do that if they want to, and not go through all that.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
In other words, but that condition wasn't adopted by the applicant.
Oh, okay.
And so that's the staff recommendation, but the applicant has not adopted that as a proposed condition at this point.
So, and thank you for sharing that.
Can I add before you?
Yes, sir, please.
So typically, the staff report, of course, our watershed, stormwater section generally reviews it. And if that's a concern, he wanted to make sure that it would be addressed for future development, since there's nothing in the ordinances that would mandate that area be maintained and improved.
Okay.
It would need to be added as a condition to be enforceable.
Okay, so in other words, if it got to site plan, I guess in my mind, I was surprised to see this recommendation as part of the zoning, and would think that that's more of a site plan function.
That's a site plan function, but when in enforcing the site plan or the preliminary or subdivision platting, you're restricted by the requirements of the ordinance. The reason this is proposed as a condition would be because if it was not a condition, it would not be enforceable based on technical review of the staff report, of the subdivision plat. So we couldn't enforce that at the time for the subdivision plat, and it wouldn't be required unless it's a condition adopted by the town.
Okay.
You done?
Yeah, I'll have additional questions for the
Okay,
applicant.
well, yeah, I've got still something on this. So we're not trying to tell them they have to keep the pond. If they want to do away with the pond, they can do away with the pond. And I guess what the reason that's on there, that if they did keep it, you want it to be safe and make sure the dam don't break or something, I guess. I mean, what's the reason for that? Am I right on my assumption it's not trying to make them keep the pond?
Yeah, I think that as I read the recommendation from the staff, it was that if the pond is retained,
Right.
then they want to certify that it's.
Still up to the property
it's
owner
up-
what they want to do.
That's right. They're not requiring this, if it's retained, staff recommendation was that be a condition.
Yeah, but right now, we don't have any conditions because they haven't agreed or we haven't even asked them.
Well, the owner has proposed two conditions, one limiting to 85 units max, and not allowing junk cars.
Right.
as a-
At the present, though, this is not a condition.
That's right, it's not a condition.
Okay, that's
right.
That's all I need to.
Mr. Bass, you through, Jimmy?
Yeah, go ahead.
I understand, it says it here, that the developer proposed except for junk motor vehicles shall not be permitted. Well, where my concern lies in that puts us into the business of patrolling this neighborhood for junk motor vehicles. The complaints may come to this town hall, wherein my mindset would be that it's something that might be better handled by the HOA and the rules associated with it. People, when they purchase the home, they could review the HOA rules and they would be joining the club and agreeing to all the club rules there. Is this something that y'all have encouraged the applicant to ask for, or they did this of their own volition?
Yes, they did it of their own volition. It may have been the results of maybe they had a community meeting. Sometimes they tailor their conditions based on concerns of the neighbor. I really can't speak to that, but that was proposed as part of their application.
Does our ordinance define junk cars?
It does.
Yeah, there's a state statute that applies to definitions of junk cars.
Different districts have different definitions.
Well, I don't like the idea that we might have one subdivision where this has been requested and it's part of the zoning, where we might have another subdivision where it is not. Seems like that could get confusing down the road. You see what I mean, Mr. Winfrey?
Yes, and I guess as I understand it, the zoning enforcement, I suppose, is complaint-driven. I'm not aware that the staff is actually looking for violations, but if they receive a complaint, then they go investigate.
Well, the definition of a junk car varies considerably across this country, I've noticed, and opinions vary widely. There's a lot of contention over this in other areas, other states, and I would just like for us to consider how we proceed and do so cautiously.
I think that's something the homeowners association should decide whether they should have, what they want to have in their neighborhood.
You know, for
I
example,
mean, that's what, your neighborhood has it, doesn't it, Jim? Y'all got all those rules and I just, you know, I mean, Stokesdale's a town that the different subdivisions have different rules and. Will you? Okay. Well, that's enough to be said then, if that's agreeable with y'all.
okay,
In our covenants for our HOA, we have that outlined that we're not to have vehicles in the backyard, if you will. There's no mechanical work to be done other, you know, maybe change a tire or something like that. But any vehicle that's not on the driveway is subject to being towed.
I'm sure the HOA.
yeah, but
It's in your first rodeos.
Mr. Winfrey, down here at the bottom of the page, agenda item number 8's it red at the top, you know, the conditions and what have you here. Down at the bottom where it begins, RS 30 residential single-family district, et cetera,
Yes.
it makes note that the area is without access to public water. And then there's a note in parentheses that our ordinance requires connection to RS 30, which it does. I know that to be true. There's no way anybody in the future could somehow contend that our ordinance here is arguing with itself and this become a problem. Correct?
I think that's right. I guess I'm assuming that and I'm not sure why it says without access to public water, because I'm assuming that there is water available to the property.
Yes, that's.
It is, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
If I may interject, maybe about 3 or 4, 5 years ago, the county, it would have been consistent with the RS zoning district, but at some point, the town adopted an ordinance that requires RS 30 property to connect to the public water.
That's,
However, the purpose statement, the intent statement of that district was never revised to match that requirement.
Okay, as long as Mr. Winfrey thinks we're clear enough here, there won't be a problem.
I think we're fine. I mean, I think it's,
All right, Mr. Bass, there, on the 3 pages over here, it states residential development makes up approximately 12% of the land area. The land area of what? Is that old verbiage that's been cut and pasted out of the Stokesdale land use plan? Because that has got to be incorrect.
My assumption is, and it may be outdated, but,
Okay, I think I see what's happened here. It's old information from '07, hasn't been updated.
yeah, it's
And that's
based
why
on
it's in there that way.
yeah, it's based on the data that was presented in the plan.
they may be relying based on the 2007 land use plan, which is,
Yeah,
got
yeah.
an age on it.
Insofar as the pond plan here, I'm not familiar with every pond in the area, but this one I am. Probably the last time the spillway was worked on, I think I helped Mr. Cook spread some straw down there, as a matter of fact. So I've been there, done that. It's a very small pond. If the dam busts, it's not gonna wash Reedsville or Madison away. Certainly gotta go through the motions of making sure that everything's proper here. But I wanna make sure the applicant is not being, required to spend an excessive amount of money on engineering. And so I don't necessarily know, when you require him, he or she, to get the sealed engineering study done, I don't know if that's thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, but I would hope it's reasonable. The applicant hasn't objected. This is boilerplate, right?
Well, this is only a staff recommendation, and so this is not a condition that's been adopted either by the planning board only recommended. The
Yeah.
planning board recommended the town consider it, but unless the applicant offers that condition, it would not be part of the plan.
Good ask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's why I'm asking. I need a number to go with that. I need to know that the applicant will speak to this shortly, I presume, but I need to know if they believe it's reasonable and they're okay with it when we get to that point.
and I would say generally, that's a condition was introduced by by staff. And there were some safety concerns as regards to the conditions of the pond and the potential impact downstream on adjacent properties.
Yeah, I understand, and generally, I got it. It's a very small pond.
If I was him, I'd take that thing down.
Any other questions, comments?
I will report that at the planning board, the meeting, there was discussion about the pond, and was it an attractive nuisance, and whose responsibility was it to provide protection for it, and it's gonna depend on what the developer does. Is it part of a common area, or do the lots go into the pond, or is the pond gonna be drained anyway? So there was a lot of discussion about that at the planning board. And it was unresolved because we didn't know what the.
Wouldn't that all be done when they do the plat?
That's
And then that discussion be with the planning board and everything then?
That's right,
'Cause that's irrelevant to the zoning, isn't it?
correct.
Okay, we're going to open the hearing for anyone that is in favor of the project.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name's Andrew Christ. I'm with FEI Civil Engineers, Land Surveyors. We are at 4196 Mendenhall Oaks Parkway, High Point, North Carolina. I am joined here with Kami Johnson, Casey, and Kevin Combs, whom I think you all know pretty well, local developers and contractors in the area. We wanted to thank the Guilford staff and Mr. Bass for their comments and staff report here today. I do want to just touch on a couple notes of the property and what we're doing here. We are conditional rezoning property to RS 30, which would allow us to go up to just around about 140 lots total. If you look at just the density of 1.3 acres per unit, we are maxing ourselves out at 85 units. We are looking at this to be a part of the community, larger homes, acre lots, nice pieces of property. Of course, the health department will come back in and restrict us to a smaller amount depending on how the soil is available at that time, so. But we are maxed out at 85, and that will be our proposed condition.
Andrew, I'm sorry, but they'll be 30,000 square foot lots, not acre lots.
Yeah, minimum, right? So, sorry, we will pull back the proposed condition for the junk car. So we'll just go forward with the proposed condition of 85 max lots. As the planning process goes on, we will be working with NCDOT for their roadway improvements during the commercial plan development process. Also through technical review and the process, we'll be handling a lot of the watershed comments and all that process. So we do not want to adopt that condition as a part of this zoning hearing today, as we will handle that through the development process, through the plat, and as we continue this process through Guilford County and Stokesdale. That's kind of all I have today for your consideration, gentlemen, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Andrew?
Well, the pond's been talked about. What's the plan with the pond?
At the moment, we are working on that development for the pond.
We're trying to go through rezoning, we haven't engineered everything yet, we don't
Okay.
know enough, we're not educated on that. To answer that.
The proposed requirements for the pond are not onerous insofar as y'all are concerned.
Yeah, and the state, all that, we've been doing that, every time we have to deal with a pond, that's in the state level too, so, the dam and everything, so we have to go through that process, but we don't go through that process until we get our rezoning. All of our engineering, so if we haven't, we're not to that point.
I understand, I'm just trying to make sure it's reasonable for everybody concerned.
Say that again.
I said, I understand, I'm just trying to make sure it's reasonable for everybody concerned, including you all.
Yes, sir, that is correct. This is the first time ever in all my rezonings, I've had a pond or any kind of structure like that as a condition of the rezoning. And we were surprised by that when it came out of the staff report, so we usually handle that at site plan. We haven't done the work, measured the dam, engineered it, or any of that. We do that when we have all that information when we bring the site plan before.
Any other questions?
My name's Todd Nunn, I'm the owner of Countryside Village, and one of the lots that is,
Could let me ask you if you would, if you'd step up to the podium so we can hear you, and again, identify yourself.
Mayor, what you meant was questions for the applicant at the moment.
Exactly,
It was-
exactly. Are you speaking in favor of the project?
just general questions at this point.
Okay.
But you're not cutting off the applicant here, are you, Mayor?
No, no, no,
Y'all-
not at
y'all
all.
done?
I guess ultimately my question would be for the applicant. So my name's Todd Nunn, I'm the owner of Countryside Village. It's about 60 acres and two different plots. One is all the building, and then the lot adjacent, which is adjacent to the lot y'all are proposing to develop. And obviously Countryside's a beautiful place, it's out in the woods, and that's why people love it. So my only concern is, as it gets developed, there's 150 elderly people that live there, just what's the property line look like, and,
Well, actually, I believe.
just the safety of.
Yeah, I think the property line has already been marked and it's established.
Sure.
And the way it looks now, we will not, it doesn't look like we will have any roads going on the other side of the pond, which is towards your, we will have some off-site septic.
Okay. Any others, anyone else want to speak in favor?
That was,
Do we have anyone that wants to speak against? This concludes our opening hearing.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor, I'm a little bit concerned. I understood the applicant to say they withdrawing the restriction that was advertised for this rezoning or to no junk cars, if I had understood the applicant correctly. Were you saying that you were?
Yeah, at a concern of the council.
Out of concern for several members of the council, just to clarify that.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if that's allowed in a conditional use hearing.
You can change it in a way that makes it, more restrictive. But you can't, once you've advertised a certain way, you can't make it less restrictive. So I'm concerned that, I don't want this attacked later on by somebody saying that the board made it less restrictive than what was advertised. So,
Makes sense.
yeah. So,
Well, whether it's there or not, that's whatever. I can't find for the life of me a definition of a junk car in our ordinance, so I just wonder why it was there to begin with.
It is there. It's $100 or less, in a residential, you have to have it covered. There's a specific ordinance in it, and it would cover whether you put that in there or not. It would cover the ordinance is there. So,
Then according to the ordinance, right, we're back to.
yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal to me. It's just that, you're gonna cover it with the HOA, so, I mean, that's fine.
I stick by my guns here. We have people that they could be involved in an accident, have the car towed home. Maybe they gotta wait until that next paycheck before they can have it repaired, those types of things. And, I don't want the town inserting itself into those kind of situations unnecessarily in the future because of a random complaint. It's their property. It's not like they got it parked on the town property.
No, I agree with you, and I'll also stick by my position that I don't see the definition of junk cars. I see junk motor vehicle in there,
And
but there's
Mr.
no
Fo-
definition to it.
And Mr. Foy, in addition to that, if we have subdivisions where this applies as a condition and the next one it doesn't apply as a condition, it just seems to me like there's no way to run a town.
Well,
except that the developer offered this.
yeah, and that's fine.
I
guess-
understand the developer presumably could also write that into the HOA in whatever HOA regs in whatever manner they chose and deal with it that way.
Yeah, it's always in there.
That gets it closer to home. If somebody doesn't want to buy a home that has that restriction, then they should buy one somewhere else. That lets them decide.
I agree.
I will point out that there are development standards related to junk vehicles, in your ordinance.
I understand
definition,
that we're not talking about a junk yard or a salvage operation or a business.
If the ordinance doesn't have a definition for a junked vehicle, then it's kind of ambiguous to what one is.
I don't recall us having this
And I certainly have an
before.
opinion of one, but
I believe it's like pornography. When you see it, you know it. Am I right? Oh, well.
yeah, I don't want to get in the weeds on this thing. It sounds like it sounds like it needs to stay in there because that's what was advertised and all that.
I mean, the town doesn't have an enforcement arm. I think it's a moot point. I mean, if somebody did come over here, we would have to defer any enforcement
Well,
somewhere when we're not
enforcement
gonna
arm or
ride
no
over-
enforcement
we're not
arm,
gonna
where's
ride
the
over there and look
definition?
at it, yeah.
From my experience with the HOA, they'll be on it before y'all get called.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Good grief.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Mr. Combs, do you currently ask for that as a condition in any rezoning you ask for?
I didn't, and to be 100% honest, Tim, I didn't realize it was in there.
Y'all just want to write something down, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
No, well, I.
Were you just looking to throw an olive branch out or?
No, I can't answer that. I really can't, as I said.
They just want to put something down. I'm not saying you was,
Just, if we have a rule, sooner or later, somebody will come along and want us to enforce it. And I don't see how we're gonna apply it to one neighborhood and not another
Yeah,
one.
and like I said, with my experience, I deal with HOAs for many years now on a daily basis. They're on it.
Well, and I got that.
Are there any other questions?
So I'm not clear on whether that condition is in or out.
Well, that's to the
I think it's
I mean, I don't
your
want Mr.
recommendation
Combs
that it stays in there
rezoning
as
to be
well.
attacked later on because we,
Yeah, thank you. I agree.
I'm always for less government. I wish we'd take it out, but I'm outnumbered here.
I don't know how we'd be attacked.
We wouldn't be, because there's not a definition for junk cars.
Any further discussion?
Well,
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve rezoning case 24-09-PLB D-00096, known as 7848 US Highway 158. As far as the consistency statement goes, it's consistent with other housing uses in the area that have equal or higher density. It's in conformance with a land use plan. It has the necessary infrastructure available for the water system and highway to access this property.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And, well, Mr. Rigsby, let me back up a second if you don't mind here. I'd like to make my motion contingent upon the provision for the junk vehicles that's proposed, all uses for RS-30 zoning district as allowed by table 4-31 in Stokesdale zoning ordinance, except junk motor vehicles shall not be permitted. I'd like for that to be removed.
Mr. Winfrey, did you say that we can or cannot do this as far as remove it?
Do you agree to the removal of that?
I do, but I went to town attorney that could present a landmine in the future for us, because I agree with him, we can make it, more restrictive, but not less restrictive on conditional rezoning, so I am totally with the river with the town attorney.
and I'll also point out that there is a definition in answer to questions,
Excellent.
of a motor vehicle junked, which is a motor vehicle that does not display a current license plate and is one of the
Okay.
following: partially dismantled or wrecked, or two, cannot be self-propelled or moved in a manner of original use, more than 5 years old, and appears to be worth less than $100. So there is a.
I hear you. There it is then. I stand corrected.
Did you say the end of that?
I guess I ain't gonna argue
Value less than $100?
That's an or thing,
Okay.
so.
Where's that listed, Mr. Winfrey? How would I find it again?
See it
It's
right
under section 2-1
AY.
AY, and
There it is.
our county planner found that while we were
Perfect.
discussing.
Well, there it is then.
Okay.
I mean, either way, whether it's in or not, it's enforceable by the town and the HOA, but in most cases, I think HOA would handle it before it even got to y'all. That's just my opinion.
I agree, but when it gets to us, we have to pay for it out of our meager budget.
But I think with what they just read, that could happen either way.
It is in the ordinance, and it is there, so, I don't
But
like us
there's
putting,
no
I don't like us putting it in it, but it still, it is there.
It seems extraneous to me, having it where it's at here, and it's offered up as a condition. But
Yeah. No, I don't disagree.
I agree with that, but it's too late. I don't think it's a good idea.
Where's that general statute that you're talking about that they can't do that? I'd like to, we had a zoning hearing, sometime back, and, it was something similar to that came up. Is that in the general statute? Where is that, what you're saying is?
There was a case, because when that came up a few months ago, there was an issue about adding conditions. And so I had to kind of research the question of could they change conditions on a conditional use zoning, either in front of the town council. And my research was that the cases say that they can make them, if you make it more restrictive, then that's not a problem. Nobody has standing to complain about it, but that's not the case if you make it less restrictive.
If we remove this, how are we making it less restrictive because it's already in our ordinance?
I'm comparing to what was advertised. So in other words, we're comparing what the hearing advertised had that restriction in it. And so that's kind of hung up.
You are allowed to have junk motor vehicles with some development, with some standards on the residential property. And one of the reasons, in my estimation, is that someone may have gotten that notice and said, oh, they would not have any junk motor vehicles, and that may have influenced their decision on whether or not they would attend the meeting.
I see.
I think I think the developer stands to lose greater if something does happen versus the chances of somebody coming in and wanting the town to enforce a junk vehicle thing. We can just simply say, we're gonna leave that up to the HOA and as a town and just leave it up to the HOA. I don't think just because somebody requests it, we have to immediately jump into action and, if there's another remedy, I think that's what we do.
Well, it's up to you guys whether you want to keep it in or not. It's not,
I believe from a liability standpoint, it was a smarter thing to do to leave it in there. And understand, from what I understand, from what was read, that it can be enforceable by the town either way, but even this is double protected redundancy with the HOA, and I don't think it'll ever get to the town in my personal opinion.
so this is what we're looking at is what they said, what they're requesting. That's what we're looking at, so.
Mr. Jones, would you restate the motion, please?
I'm in favor of the rezoning, but I don't want to just, I don't want to belabor the point. I'm just, too much government, too much, it's just, I can't support putting all this stuff in when it's unnecessary. I withdraw my motion.
Do I have another motion
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we approve rezoning case 24-09 PLBD-00096, known as 7848 US 158, from AG and residential 40 to CZRS 30 as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And you want to propose findings that's consistent with the land use plan and
Which is consistent with the land use plan and environmental studies.
Do you still second, Mr. Foy?
Where is it consistent with the environmental studies?
I mean, with environs as well. In other words, it's surrounding.
All of them,
areas.
Yeah. You gonna modify that?
yes, I'll modify that to say that again. Because you're saying
Well,
that.
I'm saying is you find it consistent with the long-range land use plan adopted by the town in 2007, and with the other developments in the area.
Okay, so the long use plan adopted by the town in 2007 and the other residential developments in the area.
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Rigsby?
Aye.
Mr. Foy? Mr. Landreth?
Yes.
And Mr. Jones?
Am I?
And I am I.
Thank y'all so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good luck.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Christmas.
Sorry, I thought you
Build
said
some beautiful
environmental,
houses.
And I didn't understand what you said. I didn't understand that. I was like.
Moving on to new business. We have consideration of Town of Stokesdale Resolution R-2024-03, a resolution of support regarding road improvements on Athens Road, SR 2101, Athens Road Connector, SR 5007, and Angel Purdue Road, SR 2102. Mr. Jones.
I didn't do it. I asked for this item in regards to a email we received from NCDOT from Mr. Buff, I believe, and pointing out that we needed to approve a resolution to allow them to continue to pursue this. Mr. Foy pointed out that we might want to slow up a little bit and have a meeting with NCDOT about this. I'm flexible about the matter. I just didn't want us to be any impediment. The holidays are here, things tend to slow down a little bit, and then if we're hoping to see this happen next summer, I just want to make sure that we're not the holdup. I noticed I saw Mr. Kettner here from NCDOT. I don't know if he wants to speak to this or not.
Come on up, Brian. Yep. We're not gonna talk about junk cars, don't worry.
Yeah, how would we handle a junk car in this situation, in this intersection?
Well, you know, what you guys think.
Let me call the meeting to order, gentlemen.
You know, I'm serious.
Repeat that, Mr. Landriff. I don't think.
What you guys might consider a junk car might be something I drive. I pay less for my cars than y'all pay for y'all's tires.
I've had old cars before, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, one
Never
of those you
reversing
might end
them.
up with it again.
I got one in the driveway. Brian, please.
Well, yeah, so my name's Brian Kettner, NCDOT Project Team Lead in Division 7 out of Guilford County. And we've been asked to come and speak to the town about the resolution that was requested for the Stokesdale Elementary school improvements. There's been several updates over the past few years about how to get the traffic in and out of the school, elementary school, just right up the street in a better fashion because of queuing and backups during school drop-off and pickup. And so over several years, we've had a professional engineering firm, Davenport Engineering. They did a study for the school, presented several options to the Guilford County school system. During COVID and things just kind of took a back seat due to funding. There was a decision-making that needed to be done on behalf of the county school system. Since then, there's been a revision to that design in coordination with our regional traffic engineer and the county school system with Mr. Mike Ritchie. We since went back and did some tweaks to that design, and now we have concurrence from the school that this is allowable and seems to meet all the criteria needed for the school and for NCDOT. So what we have requested is a resolution from the town and from the county that they're in support of this within their municipal limits, so we can pursue the remaining funding that we need for the project.
Okay.
Robbie, I think you have the proposed design. Can you zoom in just a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. And over the past few years, I know we've been here and we've spoke to the request that a signalization intersection at Angel Purdue and Athens and 158 here, and in and along of itself with our how we evaluate traffic signals. This intersection alone does not warrant itself for a traffic signal. But when we look at the peak hour for the school, which is not typically how we would, warrant a signal, there are some needs in that case. And so what you see here on the right-hand side of the screen are two proposed signals, and that represented as the two stars obviously wouldn't be off to the side there, but that would be the location of the new proposed signals. Be controlled by one signal cabinet, which means if one signal's red, on 158, then both of them are going to be red on the cross, on the Y lines on the cross, and so both will be green. So they have to operate together. So when they're both red in one direction, The other side, the opposite side is gonna be green. It will not work without doing that because they are so close together. That is not typical standard practice, but because of this intersection and this, and how it's laid out, that's kind of how it has to be. So Robbie, if you can pan to the left there. And up just a little bit. Yes, sir, thank you. So the Athens Road connector where the big red arrow is NCDOT, and working with the engineer has proposed to making that a two-lane entrance into the school. That would be the main entrance there, and so you have a left turn lane off 158, and so cars would come in a dual lane fashion and creep up and then around, circle back around and go through the roundabout and exit back out towards the new proposed signal light. All this work has to be completed in one form and fashion for this to work. We've ran the models, the traffic models with the signals and with the additional storage on campus, and everything seems to be improving and operating. Like I mentioned before, the total cost estimate for all of these improvements is roughly around $2.3 to $2.4 million. MSTA funds, which is our school funds, has committed to $750,000 towards that improvement. We at NCDOT, through our traffic department, through our higher impact, low cost, have identified $800,000 to go towards that improvement. So there's about a delta of about $800,000 that needs to be funded. So we're currently looking at other options for that funding. If the school has bond money or other funds that they could contribute towards that, that would be something that would be welcomed as well. Let's see. I mean, from a nutshell, that's essentially where we are.
Mr. Kettner,
Yes, sir.
is this changing the flow of traffic such that the traffic between Angel Pardue and the school will only be one way on Athens Road?
So, as you can see,
I see the two lanes
Yeah.
coming in off of US 158 to feed the school drop-off and pickup line.
it would still maintain a two-way direction right there under that island.
Okay.
I'm gonna step away from the mic just for a second.
So when the vehicles leave the school grounds and enter back onto the NCDOT road system,
Yes, sir.
all the traffic will flow towards the new lights at Angel Pardue and US 158?
That's correct, in a single lane.
Okay.
So if I heard the question correctly, this will still be a two-way pattern. Cars will be able to come here, stop, but they'll have to get a courtesy gap from the line that's queued up to get in here. So it'd be an enforcement issue by the school, or they would have to put up some sort of barricade here during peak hour, but the main entrance would be here.
The school it would be permissible for the school to do that if the school chooses to?
Yes, sir.
To force everybody to come in off of US 158?
Yes, sir.
So there wouldn't be a need for the courtesy gaps?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay. One thing, there's a private residence here that we certainly want to make sure that we don't block access to. And so if there's still two-way traffic on Athens Road, then that, of course, takes care of that.
Yes, sir.
He
Well,
won't be able to go out. He won't be able to go out to the left and go out anymore. He'll have to always go out to the right
That's true.
The road.
Yes, yes, sir.
During peak hours.
during any hours.
No, any hours. That is true.
yeah, that's why I was asking if there were two-way traffic. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to get in, but he'll be able to come.
Yeah, he'll be able to get
Turn
in.
right
He
and
just
go
have
out.
to go out to the right instead of coming up there and cutting through to one time.
Yes, sir. Yes, correct.
That'd be the only change on that.
During non-peak hours, is it possible to set the traffic signal up so that it's just caution?
I don't think we've looked into that level of detail.
But
Will it be pressure censored though?
Do you know, Matthew, are we looking at, Yeah, more than likely on non-peak hour, we would have the more than likely, the loops, you know, and, you know, especially on, Angel Purdue, to trigger that light to stop, because otherwise you want to keep 158.
Yeah.
The equipment you're installing, the two lights would be, the controller would, you could reprogram it and tweak it or allow for off-peak hours or 2 o'clock in the morning and set it on flash or whatever.
Yes.
The standard might be that would make that more functional.
Yes, and I guess I'd just like to reiterate that this would be an adjustment period, right? So, day one, this is in place, and first day of school, first couple of weeks of school, this is not gonna be the end-all, be-all, you know, the solution. You know, the first few weeks of school are chaotic in general, so with a new pattern. So I'll just ask if this moves forward, that there's some time evaluated before we start calling the cavalry to come make adjustments, you know. But there would be that opportunity to observe and monitor how that's going, make tweaks and adjustments as needed, yes.
I meant more or less over the long term. You know?
Yes, sir, yes. But we were just discussing it today that, you know, with this new pattern, there are gonna be some, you know, just some adjustments that.
Sure.
Over what we have, this looks great to me. As a council member, it's a little hard to, you know, since it's not a, you know, it's a sketch on an aerial
Yes, sir.
map or picture, it makes it a little hard to follow. But if we wait till that point, we may delay the project, I feel like.
Can we go back and talk about the off-peak hours? You know, it's absolutely a need, you know, during school, car ride or drop-off. So, you know, at 180 days a year, you know, a couple hours a day, it's, you know, 360 hours or whatever, that this will be really useful. You know, and then there's 8,000 plus hours left in the year where, you know, a traffic light is really not needed. Can we get, you said you didn't know, but can we get to a point where, I don't want this traffic light to be red, green, yellow 24 hours a day. I just don't see that being a need, and I see it being a hindrance more than that. But there's 2 hours, and I'm very appreciative that you guys have, you know, peeled this back and looked into it and worked with Guilford County Schools. But how can we get some kind of assurance that it will have the ability to not impact the non-peak hour traffic?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Matthew, that's something we can, to right size the signals, and because like we said before, outside of those peak hours, this intersection doesn't warrant those signals, so.
No, it doesn't.
Maybe it is a flashing yellow on the non-peak, you know, school times.
That's all you have to do.
I think we can,
Well,
Yeah.
would your standards basically automatically require you to review that and put it on the best setting for the off-peak hours, non-school periods of time like the summer? You know, that's what you would do. That's what y'all do, and it wouldn't be really necessarily for us to request that you review this. There wouldn't be any fuss about it. It's just something y'all do on a regular basis. You review the settings you have at traffic intersections everywhere, correct?
yes, but I would say that this signal wouldn't be installed at an intersection that doesn't meet anything additional than a peak hour warrant. We normally look at a 4 and an 8 hour warrant.
Well, we're looking at it, we see a problem. We see more and more students moving to Stokesdale that'll need to get onto the school grounds.
Absolutely.
The car ridership is going up, it's not going down. They're just things that as a town, as a council, we have no control over. We don't run the schools, we don't run the roads. And we have our citizens are starting to question this and request that changes be made.
Yep.
So if we don't do this, if we don't pursue this, it just feels like we got to do something. I hear you when you say that the accident rate doesn't justify it, and I hear you when you say the traffic count doesn't justify it, but I don't want to wait till somebody gets hurt, some kid gets injured somehow, and then, look back and say, gosh, we should have done this 3 years ago, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I guess to clarify what I was trying to say is that, yes, we will right size the signal for the conditions that it's in. But on a normal case, based on our standards, this intersection in general wouldn't qualify for a signal. And so we will have to do some evaluations. We will have to do the best we can with the information that we have, and then to have some monitoring periods, and then tweak based on what we're seeing and what we're hearing from the public.
I remember you saying that from a meeting many, many months ago. But we're all through that intersection on a daily basis.
Sure.
We see things, we see the truck traffic, the construction traffic, you know, with the foggy mornings, there's just a lot of things at play here. And it just seems like something has got to be done. And you all are the best minds that we have to unleash on the problem.
Right. And I think we're willing to, we're willing to do that. I just want to be clear that what we have planned for the school it should work based on all models and all the traffic engineering that's went into it. What it looks like outside of that, like I said, in a normal condition, it's just not warranted. So we're gonna have to figure out what the best way to address those non-peak hours. If it's flashing yellow, great. If it's signal loops on Angel Purdue to trigger that red light, and then you got max green time on 158, then great. But can I commit to you today what that looks like? No, but can I commit that we will evaluate that and assess that as things go on? Yes.
I think the question, we just need to be sure we're asking is the equipment being installed can be modified at a later date to
Yes, sir.
get the best fit, the best operational cycles.
Absolutely.
You're planning on trying to do this summer after school's out?
That's the goal. Yeah, that was, like I said, the full amount of funding hasn't been secured yet, so we're still trying to find that delta of $800-some thousand. And so the goal is, yes, once we get that, it's relatively, a small amount of work, so it should be able to be complete while school is out. Yes.
Have you got a resolution from Guilford County yet?
No, sir.
So you need to get these resolutions in hand
Yes, sir.
in order to do this.
And then there will be additional coordination that needs to happen with Guilford County Schools of who's going to do the work, who's going to take the lead, whether,
Insofar as anything NCDOT would need from us, is this resolution it?
Yes, sir. Unless you have some money that you want to pony up.
We can pass a hat.
Yeah.
But yeah, yes, sir. It's just support, just to making sure that what we're doing in and around your town is, we have buy-in from council.
Right.
Well, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Well, I do. Can't speak for anybody else, but I appreciate you getting on it and hopefully get it done and it.
And it solved the problem,
Yes, sir.
Well, you don't ever.
or at least lessen the problem.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And like I said, it'll be, with the signals and things of that nature, there'll probably be some kinks to work out, but we'll be here to do that and assist. It'll be our signal, so we'll be looking after those and kind of monitoring those over time.
Apologies for asking the same question I did earlier. Sometimes I do that, but I'm gonna do it. During non-peak hours, you may not have it exactly right at first, but you will have the ability to adjust this light to where it's not a,
Yes, sir.
okay, excellent.
I thought you were gonna ask about the cars again.
The meeting's
Please,
over.
hey, don't bait us. Please don't bait us.
We can't offer you any money, but we'll all meet out there with shovels
Yep.
and we'll.
What's this we stuff?
Yeah, we'll wire it ourselves. We'll save
Yeah,
us some
we'll
money.
take free labor. Ain't that right, man?
Yeah, we'll save us some money.
Yeah. You did say if Guilford County Schools has any bond money.
Yeah, we're still
some bond
looking.
money.
Yeah, we're still looking at, at other options that NCDOT has, but, there's a lot of needs in and around the area, and there's a lot of schools that have needs as well, Colfax Elementary, Oak Ridge Elementary, things of that nature. So, we've tapped out on what we can get through the MSTA program and through our high impact, low cost. So we're exploring other avenues as well.
And we're aware that car rider lines are very long at really all schools across the county. I think, what makes this situation unique is just that, wacky intersection up there with Angel Purdue and Athens, and then 158, 90 feet further, and how that'll work. It's, it's not much of a queuing area, so this is a safety concern from our perspective, not merely an inconvenience for people that bought a house next to a school.
All right, Mr. Kettner, you did it again. You got over my head. It doesn't take much. But what is MSGA?
MSTA.
MSTA, okay. What
I
is
knew you were gonna
that?
ask that question. I forgot to look it up, because it's, hold on.
Like the military, speaking in acronyms.
Yeah.
Municipal School Transportation Assistance.
Ah.
Google.
Thank you, Robbie.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor. That would be that we approve Resolution R-2024-03, a resolution in support regarding road improvements on Athens Road, SR 2101, Athens Road Connector, SR 5007, and Angel Party Road, SR 2102, and authorize the mayor to sign it.
Yeah, I'll second.
Any discussion? Mr. Rigsby.
Aye.
Mr. Foy.
Aye.
Mr. Landrith. Mr. Jones.
Aye.
And I am also aye. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kettner.
Thank you.
Sir.
Consideration of the 2025 Town of Stokesdale holiday closing schedule.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 2025 holiday closing schedule as presented under agenda item number 10.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mr. Rigsby.
Aye.
Mr. Foy.
Aye.
Mr. Landrith.
Aye.
And Mr. Jones.
Aye.
And I'm also aye. Next, we have the Town Council regular meeting schedule.
Mr. Mayor, I verified that all these dates are the second Thursday of the month as we normally do, so I'll make a motion that we approve the 2025 regularly scheduled Town Council meeting schedule.
I'll second.
Discussion. Mr. Rigsby.
Aye.
Mr. Foy.
Aye.
Mr. Landrith.
Aye.
And Mr. Jones.
Aye.
And I am also aye. Our next item for consideration is the Town of Stokesdale Town Board of Adjustment regular meeting schedule.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve the 2025 Town of Stokesdale Board of Adjustment regular meeting schedule as presented under agenda item number 12.
I'll second that one too.
Do we have any discussion?
Yeah, well, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
is this council still sure that we need to have a separate Board of Adjustment schedule? We got by for years with doing those Board of Adjustment hearings during regular council meetings, and I'm just asking if we're sure we want to do this. Our town is basically too small to have a separate Board of Adjustment, in my opinion.
Well, I'm okay either way. I just soon do it the other way that we used to do it, but we did have a issue that brought up about we wasn't starting it in time at one time. I mean, that's why we switched it, but I'm good with whatever majority of the board wants to do. Even though I would prefer to do it the other way, but that's not what this schedule is.
Well,
I'm not trying to change anything, but.
I guess it's mostly a moot point because we hardly have any.
Yeah, that's the thing, we don't have much, so.
Hey, I mean,
I
my,
still second the motion.
my preference is to keep it on a separate date, acknowledging that there are rare occurrences, but it's not something that I'm really passionate about. Either way will work.
Well, on the plus side, having a separate schedule is not really costing us anything in any way to speak of, right?
I keep my second in there.
All righty, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
We're gonna have to wait just a second. Mr. Ford, the mayor stepped out of the room. I'm sure he'll be right back.
I wouldn't be so sure about that.
Well, if he doesn't come back, you're the mayor pro tem, you'll have to take over.
You don't reckon he's pulling a Joe on us, do you?
He may be making a run for it.
Yeah.
Most controversial issues, then run them off.
He's
Apparently.
probably He's probably trying to get his car out of the parking lot before Rigsby goes and gets it.
Well, he said he had a junk one in the driveway, so let's, heading over there after the meeting.
It's valued at
I'm
over
sure you
$100,
would if
I'm
you
sure.
could. You know, sometimes in Stokesdale in the past, we've had two cars and we have to decide which one we're gonna drive based on which one our one battery's in.
That's right.
I know. I was telling, Mr. Wagner, I had a car one time without reverse in it, and my kids were very appalled by that. And I said, they could not believe a car could run without a reverse. I said, sure, it runs that way. And I said, you always make sure you park it in a way, manner that you can get it out when you need to. And I said, we couldn't just go put it on a credit card and fix it back then.
JP drove a truck around for 6 months, extended cab Dodge truck, brown one, before we ever got a transmission, had no reverse. And him and his buddies would go places and so they'd pull in, they'd all get out and push it out.
Yeah.
But he did it for 6 months.
What happens if?
Then he put a transmission in it.
Yeah, I said, you have to push it out. What happens if you get stuck like that? I said, you'll learn,
Yeah, that was funny.
Don't get me started on.
Hey, I've
the
drove
jump
them
off
before, had it
motorcycle.
just reverse.
All right, we've been talking about you.
All right.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the Board of Adjustment 2025 schedule. Is there any further discussion? Call a vote.
Mr. Rigsby.
Aye.
Mr. Foy.
Aye.
Mr. Landrith.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
And I am also aye. Consideration of appointment of 2 members of the Town Council, Town Planning Board.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I talked to Mr. Jimmy Green today, and his term is up. And I tried to encourage him to move down to a alternate, but he said he would prefer to just go off the planning board for now. So he won't be in the running for anything. I appreciate Jimmy doing it. Jimmy's an honest guy, and he's a property rights advocate, and really appreciate, him serving, but he's not gonna be able to serve anymore.
Do you have a motion?
There's no motion. His term's up on the 1st, so.
I understand that.
No, I'm gonna leave that up to y'all. I'm just letting.
Well,
letting you know.
I'll make a motion that be the case then, that we appoint Curtis Gentry as a full-time planning board member.
Well, I'll second that.
With a term effective of January 1st, 2025. Is that agreeable?
To take up where Mr. Green leaves off,
Yep, I agree.
All right.
Any discussion?
What's the duration of the appointment?
2 years.
2 years? Okay.
Further discussion? Mr. Rigsby.
Aye.
Mr. Foy.
Aye.
Mr. Landrith.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
And I am also aye. We do have the consideration of appointment of 2 members.
I'll make a motion to appoint Miss Andrea Myler,
I'll second the motion.
Discussion?
effective January 1st for a 2-year term.
I'll still second the motion.
Discussion? Mr. Rigsby.
Aye.
Mr. Foy.
Aye.
Mr. Landrith.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
And I am also aye. Consideration of cost proposal for additional video surveillance equipment. Sorry, we're moving that to January 9th. We're opening up for public comments. Does anyone have any comments, good, bad, or indifferent? No, you're the press. You can't speak.
Okay, so if I had $5 for every time somebody said I wasn't going to speak, I could buy myself a latte at Jumping Bean. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I did want to share a couple of parting thoughts with you all as I prepare for the last issue of the Northwest Observer next week. Lots and lots and lots of thoughts going down memory lane, but specific to Stokesdale, I'll confess, I did not want to inherit this town as the town reporter when Steve retired on me several years ago. Nothing personal to Stokesdale. He'd done a great job, and I thought, dang, I've done Oak Ridge, I've done Summerfield. I just want somebody else to do all the town council coverage, but it's hard to find somebody who will come to every council meeting, frankly, and will stay for the duration. We'll go back through their notes, we'll verify, just do all the research behind the scenes. It's despite the fact that it may seem glamorous and high paying, it's neither of those. And but I want to tell you that I have really enjoyed my time. I know that sounds weird, and it's kind of a nerdy thing. The things that I've learned from covering this town specifically, things about your water system. I mean, I just have the coolest knowledge about water systems, and I never would have known. Most of my friends don't know the difference between 6-inch and 8-inch water mains, and it's okay. They'll be fine if they never know that. They don't know about water pump stations and all those things. But I like learning, and I think it's very interesting. I've also enjoyed watching you all. I have been through many meetings here, and I have seen many different council members come and go, different mayors, and the dynamics change drastically, sometimes from one election to the other, sometimes for the better, sometimes not. But between the changes that have been made on your council in the last few years, the changes of your staffing, it's been amazing to watch. You five can really teach people about how to disagree. I think you did the best job of any council that I've ever seen, and I've been trying to think of how many meetings I've covered over the last 28 years, and I know it's hundreds, and I think it's in the thousands. I love how you disagree. You are very respectful. Just a few months ago, I think I saw you get the most impassioned that I'd seen you over the issue of an ABC store in Stokesdale. I thought you did just an excellent job. You don't go below the belt, and it's tempting to do that sometimes, but you do a really good job, and I think other councils could watch you and could learn a lot from you. I think you have an excellent town attorney. I'll miss sitting there. I didn't get to sit beside you tonight. You have an amazing town clerk administrator. I know that you know that, but please appreciate him. I've seen many different town clerks. I've not seen one any more impressive than this young man. His zest for learning, his youth, and what he knows, his maturity, his wisdom. I commend you. I commend you for the staff that you have assembled. It's just starkly different than it was, a few years back. Obviously, your finance person, we have to be careful, try not to get into trouble. She's been a long time advertiser of mine, but also it's been good to see her step into her role here, and just the competency that you have at your staff. Priscilla Hunsucker, wow, just talk about a country bumpkin who is just all the best things about being a good old country girl, and just extremely competent. Your staff has always been very helpful to me. Try not to pester them too much, but they've always been courteous and just super responsive. So thank you. It's for many it might not seem like a privilege, but it's really been a privilege. My last 28 years has been a privilege, but the last years when I covered your council and watched you, I've appreciated it. I've learned a lot from you. So thank you. I will miss you. I went to do a hair appointment today in my calendar for 4 weeks from today, and popped up Stokesdale Town Council meeting, January 9th. My hairdresser said, "Are you free?" I said, "Yep, I'm free." And it feels a little weird. For a long time to come, I'll think about you on the second Thursday of every month and many times in between. Just want to let you know, though, I'm not going to go away completely, so I will still be around to pester you some. I do want to do a quarterly publication. I hope it will be well received by the community and advertisers, so it will take the support, but if it goes well, we'll come out in March. It'll be really light on the news, and that's why I probably won't I'll probably watch your meetings some online, but I do want to still keep a connection. I don't want this area to be completely without a way to connect citizens. So hopefully that'll serve some of the gap. It'll be a lot of feature articles, a lot of history articles, and just little bit of news, one page per community. We've already got it formatted, so I'll keep it to that. It won't be the Northwest Observer, but hopefully we'll continue to serve you well. So thank you very much.
So the Observer's going away?
Our last issue will be next Thursday.
Well, I thought you said that. Lord, I hate that. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
I mean, it's been a great paper. I was hoping that it would be able to continue.
I was hoping that someone would have had some interest locally, but when it comes down to it, it's.
Papers are tough now. I'm gonna tell you, we appreciate you over these years. I mean, I've really enjoyed the paper. Enjoyed you being here too.
Thank you.
So,
I love your sense of humor. I'm going to miss you. Even tonight, your zingers. You're every reporter's dream.
Well, I don't want to be reported on too much now, so.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Any other comments?
I just want to make sure you are going to cover the parade, though, right?
I'll still be there for the parade.
Okay, very good. Council comments? Mr. Rigsby?
Just wanted to thank everybody. Of course, thanks Ms. Stokes for her years of dedication to the community. And we all, I don't know if we secretly do it, but we all get that issue and see if we're in. First, we look good at the gripes and see if we're in there. And then we either feel good about it or bad about it. It just depends on what it's about. But that's what I always do. I always open it up and go straight to the gripes. And I finally made it thanks to my ABC store. So I've been secretly trying for several years to get a gripe, and I finally got one. So my life is complete.
Could have been more.
But thank you for everything, and wish everybody Merry Christmas.
Mr. Foy?
All right. It was alluded to earlier tonight, but just wanted to echo how thankful we are to our sponsors, local sponsors for the parade. It's a critical part of pulling this parade off, and we couldn't do it without them. So many thanks. And on that same line, just huge hats off to Mr. T. Stevenson and all the effort he did with ensuring that we got those sponsors. T, is a wonderful friend and, volunteered for this town, and he did so much work to get those sponsors. I know that is not easy. So many thanks to that. Hope to see you all at the parade this Saturday. I think it's, last I saw, it's going to be sunny and very cold, or at least cold. Very cold for me, but I certainly look forward to it. It's a great annual event for Stokesdale, and it's just a lot of fun. And lastly, just many thanks to Patty Stokes and the Northwest Observer. Wish you all the best in your semi-retirement and your new endeavors. I have a new appreciation after these last 5 years of the amounts of time and effort that you and your staff put into covering these meetings and reporting it in the paper. I think more people read it than you know. And it's just very much appreciated, and it's important that be reported on. So, thank you for your friendship, your counsel, your insight, and I've really enjoyed it, and we will miss you. Thank you, Patty. Merry Christmas to all. Thank y'all.
Mr. Landreth?
Yeah, well, T, of course, I want to thank you for putting the parade together, and Derek, and you're a committee upon yourself, really. I mean, it's amazing what you get done. You got more energy than I had when I was in my 30s. And I appreciate that. And Patty, I tell you, I feel like I'm losing a friend. That paper's been around. There's no telling how much reading. and it's, I don't know, it's almost like it's a bond for the communities, for all the communities together that I'm sure everybody's going to miss. It's a bond unlike the guy over in Summerfield that stole our deputy town clerk. and I wanted to say congratulations to Mason Winfrey for getting what I hope turns out to be a good position. I had the first thing when I heard that, I don't very seldom, but I had penned a letter or an email to Northwest Observer to Patty, and I, of course, I do that a lot. I was kind of irritated about it. And one side of me, I'm so tickled for Mason. I think he'll do well. And the other side, it kind of irritates me. But I'm happy for Mason personally. But I am going to miss that Northwest Observer. And everybody, it's going to be plenty of people that miss it. What we're going to take on trips now. Have our grandkids take pictures at the sled and stuff. I mean, it's been a big part. And I, for one, really appreciate you doing it over the years.
Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems like 2024 has gone by pretty fast. Here we are at the last meeting of the year. And I'd like to thank the 4 citizens that are still here with us. Sometimes I know I've done it in the past, takes a lot of patience to sit out in those seats and listen to us. I'd like to also recognize Patty Stokes and the Northwest Observer. It has the number of words, the number of pages, the number of pictures that have been put out over the years is just astounding, the amount of work that it must take to get that done. There's one idea that I considered at times contacting Patty Stokes and the Northwest Observer about. I guess I'm going to have to let it fall to the wayside, but that was a special stew calendar so I could keep up with which church was having a Brunswick stew in the entire area, and so we didn't duplicate one on the same weekend because it's kind of like my crack. I really like the Brunswick stew, and I don't know what we'll do now. I want to recognize that although we had Mason Winfrey for just a limited period of time, appreciated having him, but, things change in this life, and I don't object to him spreading his wings and taking another job. I hope Summerfield benefits from it, and I like to think, well, maybe Summerfield will wind up learning a little bit from Stokesdale through Mason Winfrey. Who knows? They might decide to send, others from Summerfield over here for some coaching, and we can negotiate the price, whatever that might be. I'd like to encourage everybody to be careful during the parade. Watch out for the little ones. And I'd like to remind everybody that Jesus is the reason for the season. Sometimes it's easy for us to forget that, buying gifts for each other and all the celebrations and what have you, but, all the way back to that manger, I think it's very important that we not lose sight of that. And I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Patty, I'd like to thank you for what you've done for us. I tell you, I'm going to have to go home and tell my wife that you're closing down. This is not going to be a good evening. She's got to be one of the biggest fans, not to take anything away from the paper at all in any way. She's constantly reminding me of the things that I don't see. But I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Please encourage your friends, neighbors, come out to our parade. We've got a really nice parade. I think all the council members are going to plan to be there one way or another. And be safe. Merry Christmas to all. I've got a couple of announcements. The council announcements are the 2024 Stokesdale Christmas Parade is scheduled for Saturday, December the 14th, 2024 at 2 p.m. in downtown Stokesdale. The next regular Stokesdale Town Planning Board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, December the 19th, 2024 at 7 p.m. inside the Stokesdale Town Hall. The next regular Stokesdale Town Council meeting is scheduled for Thursday, January the 9th, 2025 at 7 p.m. inside our Town Hall. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Landry?
Aye.
And I am aye. Thank you, folks.
What is that? Broccoli?